before we go, because the video I don't want it to be so long, but we have one other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is really a very shocking thing. But in this time that we are living and with the things that we saw taking place with this corona and this all this vaccine and this pandemic that we saw, and how much people lose their lives, and things that baffled us and really were alarming, and a lot of fear was brought on mankind. You have to expect more like similar things like this, or even worse, because we are living in the end of the end time, and we are living in Revelation time. It might be just around the beginning or the first 2-3 chapters, or some scholars will tell you exactly where we are in Revelation, but we are really living in this end time, this last book of the Bible time. We don't know how long Revelation will be when you equate it to how much years, but we know we are in Revelation time. Right? And God gave me a vision a couple of days ago where He showed me this lab. I want to say it quickly because I don't want the video to go too long, and I want people to really get the information. God showed me a vision where this place looking like a lab. It's a place where some sort of operation takes place. And it's a place where you can see like technology being used. And when I look, I say, but how can I describe this place? And it's like something like a lab with technology and science, right? Taking place, right? And I saw this cattle. Some of us, we know cattle as a cow or a bull. Right? And I saw this animal, and they had it in some kind of apparatus or some kind of machinery was attached to the ear of the animal. And they brand these ox and these cows and these cattle and them so that they will know their animal when they're out in the field. And different farms have a border, and they brand their goods and their stock, right? So they will know that this is theirs. They use a hot iron with a stamp of metal, and they will heat it, and they will brand the animal, and they will have that mark for life, right? Now this was something similar, but it was in a more high-tech method, because man has attained a lot of knowledge and insight with technology. We have new technology, and it has really opened up the window, the door for a lot of new things to take place, and a lot of new way and methods of doing things, and even a lot of new things that we have not really encountered before. Man is able to manipulate and maneuver new technologies to have a new tool, as we should say. We didn't have this device before, as we have in this 21st century and beyond. We didn't have something looking like this. We had things like radios and televisions that was on 4 legs, and you had to have the antenna. Now we have a television where you don't even have to have an antenna on it, and you can do more than just looking at a show. You can actually play games on it. You can communicate with people, post up videos on YouTube through a television. Now it has been so engineered with so much new technologies that we have now that can really change things that we use in so much years gone by, but they have really, I want to use the right word, they have really upscale it, let's say, they have really they have really improved so much on these appliances and devices and all these things that we use day to day. We have something like the microwave where we could just put in something and it could cook in such a short time, and everything has been fast-tracked. We have the phone that can guide us to where we're going. It can pinpoint that place that if we want to see somewhere, we can actually go on our phone and punch in a few digits or keys, and we will see this place, we will see the structure, we see the location, we see the street, we see the name of the street, we see the number on a house. Very detailed information we can get from the devices just because of technologies that we have. We can go see things in other planets because of technology. And God showed me some new discoveries that we will, and indication, things that will affect even up in space, things in space from the technologies that man has really discovered right now. So God showed me this, getting back to what God has shown me. God showed me this place. It's like a technology lab. And they had these specimens. These specimens were live animals. And I saw this cattle. And it's like they were branding the animal. Like how they would brand the cattle with the hot iron stamp, you know, when they heat it. And it was nothing like heating anything, but it was some sort of machinery that they were putting on the air of the cattle. And I said, God, why are cattle? And he said, look at the kind of, you know, we eat cattle, we eat beef, right? This is what we get steak from. And it's a real life delicacy. It's a real life food. People love steak, right? And a lot of people throughout the world eat cattle, right? Beef. Some religion they don't partake of it, but plenty. It is one of the top meats that people eat, right? And I was saying, well, why cattle? And you know, a lot of studies in the medical science shows where, you know, sometimes this is a meat that keeps the blood. Amen. Whereas chicken will, you can, if you have a chicken, and you cut it up and you put it through a process of cleaning and washing it, you'll get most of the blood out, right? Amen. This is why they call it white meat. And when we look at beef and pork, you'll wash it so many times and you will still get a residue of blood in it. And this is a meat, the component, it comprises the composition of it, it holds that blood more so than other meats like turkey and chicken, which is different, right? And like fish and shrimp and all these different things. You don't really get a residue like shrimp. You don't really see blood in it. You know, so it's a category of meat that keeps a lot of blood in the makeup of that texture of meat, right? And God was saying it has something to do with the blood that is retained in this kind of meat. Okay, and between pork and beef, I already didn't go into deep study of which one is more used in the world, but both of them are similar in the case of being a type of meat that will retain a lot of blood, even when you go through a process of cleaning it and washing it and what have you. You had to really leave it for a period of time and in water and to get the most from it. And God was saying there's something about the type of meat that it retains the blood, and this that God has shown me has something to do with the DNA of the animal that is easier to contaminate the DNA of human beings. Okay? It's a very serious thing. This is a very serious thing. The indications, it has very detrimental indications to human beings, okay? And I want to be cautious, right? But God is unfolding some things that man gonna go into such deep tampering with human beings by utilizing the DNA in animals to transmit it to human beings. And it will be like a pipeline to get diseases and other things that I'm not going to go into right now. But it will be a mechanism used to transport certain things into the animal and from the animal to human beings. And we're going to see man getting more ill with different diseases, like threatening diseases and what have you, right? And it's like I couldn't believe what God was showing me, but I learned to trust God because God has, for this past year, where God has placed me on this platform to really share prophecies with people and visions with persons with the world. Let's see. You know, sometimes it was so hard to come and share some of these things. And it's a process where you learn to trust God completely. And that's because so much times when there were times where God showed me some things and others I didn't put much importance on it and I didn't share it, and I see it come into play. And I learned not to doubt anything that God shows me. And this is why I had to come and speak about this today. I'm going to see this in the near future. We don't know how soon, but we know that man has made great strides, and we see where they experimented a lot, and for some reason the focus is on man. The experiment has a lot of experiment and they're all centered around man. They're intrigued with man, and they're trying to reproduce body parts for human beings. I saw a study where they were growing an hair on the back of a rat, and they use specimens from a human being, plant it in under the skin of the rat or some part thereof, and then you see this hair that grew, and then they will take it because then it's growing with the skin of the rat, and then they would surgically remove it and place it on a human. We see where they have a lot of studies with cloning to reproduce our next human being looking like that same. They clone a human being and you'll get a representation of that same human being, looking like that human being, walking like that human being. I think they could even almost sound the same, but man cannot reproduce man. This is what I will say. God is who made man, and they could come close to reproducing man, but I don't believe that that clone will think exactly like that human being that they used to replicate a clone. This is my belief here. I talk about my own thinking and reasoning. I don't know how much, maybe if they could reach the 90% representation of that human being that they will use to clone a next human being, but they will never be able to fully reproduce a human being 100% exactly like what the original human being that they would experiment on or take specimen from to reproduce another. We see where they're going in heavily into reproducing humanoids, robots that look like humans, robots that function like human beings. And man has really, God said man knowledge will increase. And we see where man knowledge has really increased and they are delving into a lot of things, but so much is centered around reproducing a human, reproducing another human being. Whereas they could really go far into experimenting and to coming up with problem solving into like diseases, where they could really experiment and really get cures for diseases that has really affected man. You know, they're not really spending that much money on that as they are really intrigued with reproducing our next man. But we saw recently where they came up with a cure for cancers, and they say it's a really big breakthrough. I heard some other prophets speaking about, prophetic voices speaking about big strides that they would make in technology and sciences where it comes to man seeing visions. I'm getting the eyesight. If you lose your eyesight, you're able to see again, or who haven't seen me, maybe they might be able to see for the very first time. And a lot of things in science and in technology in the future. But there are areas where they are really going into some questionable areas. And this is one thing where God has shown me what they are delving into concerning the human and the DNA of the human in relation to the DNA of animals. And this has a lot of implication. This could be a very this could be very detrimental to human beings, okay? And it is not is a very questionable agenda, and we're going to reveal more as time goes by.
Amen.
And maybe, and God have been sharing with me, things that will affect food, things that will affect water, that will be harmful to human beings, that will come into play. This is all the agendas of the enemy. Alright? And let's pray. Let the body of Christ pray and ask God for revelation and for knowledge and for wisdom in this time that we are living in, so we will know. I will not be caught off guard, and we will not be deceived by the enemy. And I was thinking, sometimes God says stay away from something. In the Old Testament, God had a list of foods to eat and what we should not eat and which was abominable and what have you. But you see, when God speaks, it is not only for the time that we are in. Sometimes it's for many, many years to come. Because when we look at prophecies that a lot of the old prophets of the old time spoke, some of these prophecies have not even been revealed or have played out, or they have not been fulfilled as yet. And there's so many hundreds and hundreds of years ago they were seen and spoken of by prophets of the Old Testament and the old times. So God saying to us in Moses' day, thou shalt not eat such and such, thou shalt eat this and that. And it have implication even for our time now, because if we see some of these animals that God has spoken about and said, do not eat this, do not eat that, do not eat that. This is the same animals that geniuses are now experimenting on, and it could be life-threatening, it could be detrimental to the human race, human beings, right? I don't want to be too dramatic, but let's say human beings, right? To mankind. And if you would only not be complaining and would really say, well, if God says such and such, you should really try to be obedient and not try to reason out everything, but trust God. Because if we abstain from some of these things today, what God has revealed by certain animals that man will want to interchange or substitute or use as a tool, right? Some of these animal composition and DNA that could come into play to really affect man's DNA and affect man's well-being and health. You see the indication here? So, this is why God knows all things. And we will not always understand why God is saying some things. But we need to trust God, especially in this end time. We need to trust God. We need to hold fast our faith. Believe every word of God and trust Him completely. Have faith. Sometimes it might look impossible, But all things are possible with Christ, with Jesus.
Not yet at the top of my game, but the love of God been taking me places. Not yet at the top of my goals, but the love of God been giving me